Imagine being forced to leave your own country because of the color of your skin. Imagine being arrested, silenced, or killed simply for demanding freedom. Imagine watching your homeland suffer while you are forced to live thousands of miles away. Now imagine that while much of the world remained silent, other Africans opened their doors. They shared their schools, their homes, their resources, their hope, and in some cases, they paid with their own blood. Today, millions know the story of South Africa's freedom. Many know the name Nelson Mandela. Many know the story of apartheid. But far fewer know the story of the nations that stood beside South Africa during its darkest years. This is the story of how Africa stood with South Africa.
We must stand united for Southern Africa. Their freedom is our freedom.
In 1948, South Africa officially introduced a system known as apartheid. The word means separateness. But apartheid was far more than separation. It was a system of racial control. A system designed to keep power in the hands of a white minority government. Black South Africans could not vote. They could not freely choose where to live. They could not travel without special permits. Many were removed from their homes and relocated to designated areas. Families were divided, communities were destroyed, opportunities were restricted, and every part of daily life was controlled by race. Anyone who challenged the system faced consequences. Some were imprisoned, others were beaten, many disappeared, and thousands were forced into exile. Among them were members of the African National Congress, known as the ANC. Inside South Africa, the struggle for freedom continued. Outside South Africa, another battle was beginning. A battle fought through diplomacy, through solidarity, and through African unity.
We cannot remain silent about the injustice in South Africa. We call for international responsibility. Together, we must stand for human dignity.
In 1957, a historic event changed Africa forever. Ghana became the first sub-Saharan African nation to gain independence from colonial rule. Its leader, Kwame Nkrumah, believed that no African nation could truly be free while others remained oppressed. His vision went beyond borders. He dreamed of a united Africa, a continent standing together. Nkrumah famously declared, "The independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked with the total liberation of Africa." For South African activists, those words mattered. Ghana welcomed anti-apartheid leaders. It offered diplomatic support. It raised awareness internationally. And it became one of the first independent African nations to challenge apartheid openly. To many freedom fighters, Ghana represented something powerful. Proof that liberation was possible. Proof that colonial rule could be defeated. Proof that hope still existed.
We stand in solidarity with our brothers. These scholarships will open doors to a brighter future. For education is the weapon of freedom.
If one country became the loudest African voice against apartheid, it was Nigeria. After gaining independence in 1960, Nigeria quickly emerged as one of Africa's most influential nations. Its leaders repeatedly condemned apartheid at international forums, at the United Nations, at the Organization of African Unity, and at diplomatic meetings around the world. But Nigeria did more than speak. It acted. Special scholarship programs were established for South African students. Thousands received educational opportunities funded by Nigeria. Young people who had been denied opportunities at home suddenly found new futures abroad. Ordinary Nigerians also joined the effort. Workers donated portions of their salaries. Students organized fundraisers. Families contributed money. Communities mobilized. The anti-apartheid movement became a national cause. Many Nigerians referred to South Africa as a brother nation, a family member in need. By the 1970s and 1980s, Nigeria was among the strongest supporters of sanctions against the apartheid regime. Its leaders repeatedly pressured the international community to act. For many South Africans living in exile, Nigeria became a symbol of unwavering support.
Welcome to Tanzania, my brother. You are safe here. Let me help you with that. Come and rest.
While some nations provided money and diplomacy, others stood directly in the path of danger, They became known as the frontline states. These included Zambia, Tanzania, Angola, Mozambique, Botswana, and later Zimbabwe. These countries shared a common belief. Freedom in South Africa mattered to all of Africa. Thousands of South African exiles crossed their borders seeking refuge. ANC offices were established. Training camps were built. Political organizers found safe places to work. Future leaders found shelter. But support came at a tremendous cost. The apartheid government viewed these countries as enemies. Military raids crossed international borders. Villages were attacked. Bombs exploded. Lives were lost. Infrastructure was damaged. Economies suffered. Yet the frontline states refused to back down. Their leaders understood that helping South Africa meant accepting risks, and still they continued, because they believed freedom was worth the sacrifice.
Our unity is our strength. Our freedom is our right. Together we stand for the liberation of all Africa. We must build a future of cooperation and peace.
Among the strongest supporters of liberation movements was Tanzania. Its president, Julius Nyerere, became one of Africa's most respected voices. Nyerere believed African freedom was indivisible. If one nation remained oppressed, the continent remained incomplete. Tanzania welcomed liberation movements from across southern Africa. ANC members received support and training. Political leaders found refuge. The country became an important center of anti-apartheid organizing. For many exiled South Africans, Tanzania became a second home, a place where the struggle could continue, a place where hope could survive. As the years passed, international pressure grew. African nations continued lobbying governments around the world. They pushed for economic sanctions, cultural boycotts, sporting bans, diplomatic isolation. Slowly, global opinion began to change. The apartheid government found itself increasingly isolated. The message Africa had been repeating for decades was finally being heard. Freedom could not be delayed forever. Then came a moment that changed history. February 11th, 1990. After 27 years behind bars, Nelson Mandela walked free. The images spread across television screens around the world. People celebrated, crowds cheered, families cried. But behind that historic walk stood decades of sacrifice, not only from South Africans, but from countless Africans beyond South Africa's borders. Teachers, students, workers, presidents, refugees, entire nations had helped keep the dream alive. 4 years later, another historic moment arrived. In 1994, South Africa held its first democratic election. For the first time in the nation's history, all races could vote together. Millions lined up for hours. Some waited all day. Some cried as they cast their ballots. Many had spent their entire lives waiting for that moment. Nelson Mandela became president. The apartheid system collapsed. A new chapter began. And across Africa, people celebrated. Because this victory belonged to more than one nation. It belonged to a continent. This is African unity. Not a slogan, not a speech, not an idea, a reality. It was Ghana opening its doors, Nigeria funding education, Tanzania providing refuge, Zambia accepting risk, Mozambique enduring attacks, Botswana offering protection. Ordinary Africans helping strangers they had never met, because they understood something powerful. The struggle of one African nation was the struggle of all. Freedom anywhere strengthened freedom everywhere. And when South Africa needed help, Africa answered. History often remembers the heroes inside the battle, but sometimes it forgets those who stood beside them. The story of South Africa's freedom is also a story of solidarity, of sacrifice, of courage, of nations choosing principle over convenience. It is a reminder that freedom was never won alone. It was carried by millions of hands across an entire continent. And when South Africa finally became free, Africa celebrated together. Before South Africa stood free, Africa stood with South Africa. To our South African brothers and sisters, we have not forgotten. We have not forgotten the years when apartheid tried to crush the human spirit. We have not forgotten the pain, the suffering, and the sacrifices made by millions who fought for freedom and dignity. And we have not forgotten that the struggle against apartheid was not South Africa's burden alone. It became Africa's burden. From West Africa to East Africa, from North Africa to Southern Africa, ordinary men and women stood with South Africa. Some nations gave refuge to exiles, others provided scholarships to students, support to liberation movements, and a voice on the world stage when South Africans were being silenced. Across the continent, Africans shared what little they had because they believed that the freedom of one African nation was the freedom of all. That is why many of us watch today's events with sadness and concern. Seeing Africans turn against fellow Africans, seeing neighbors treated as enemies, and witnessing violence directed at those who came seeking opportunity and safety goes against the very spirit that united us during the struggle for liberation. Violence is not the answer. It cannot create jobs. It cannot solve inequality. It cannot repair broken institutions. It cannot build prosperous communities. Violence only destroys, leaving behind pain, fear, and division. The challenges facing South Africa are real, just as they are real in many African countries. But those challenges will never be solved by blaming fellow Africans who are struggling for a better life just as everyone else is. We must remember that our strength has always come from unity. The borders that separate our countries were largely drawn by colonial powers, but they cannot erase our shared history, our shared struggles, or our shared future. Whether we come from Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Senegal, or South Africa, we remain part of one African family. A divided Africa is weaker. A united Africa is stronger. Let us reject hatred and embrace solidarity. Let us replace anger with understanding and violence with dialogue. Let us remember the spirit of African brotherhood that helped bring freedom to South Africa and inspired generations across the continent. Our future will not be built by turning against one another. It will be built by standing together, supporting one another, and recognizing that the progress of one African nation benefits us all. We are one people. We are one continent, and our destiny is shared. We are one continent, and our destiny is shared. May peace, unity, and brotherhood guide us forward. Thank you, TXA Studios.